Hello and good morning to everybody around the world, depending on the time where it is. At the time of recording, this is actually 5:13 in the morning, BST, and I've stayed up to get the latest for you from the new FanFest Around the World digital edition for 2021. So let's break this down then and go through a summary of what exactly this, actually showed. So first of all, we have an extended trailer. The trailer itself is not something I will talk about too much here. I would say go and watch it yourself, honestly, without wanting to spoil anything. I really don't want to do that. But it's basically on the premise of the previous trailer that we saw, the teaser trailer for Endwalker, walking on the moon, etc. But there's a lot more to it. And there's a great composed soundtrack by Masayoshi Soken and the rest of the team. And it's definitely worth your time to go and watch that. Then we have Yoshi P coming out in an outfit with a scythe on his back, and there we go. That's pretty much all you need to know, and that's where they announce that Zenos has changed his job to that of Reaper. I was completely right with my guess. I said that it would be likely a Reaper or a Soul Reaper, so I was guessing correctly with that, like many other people in the community, but seems I got the name right as well. The job trailer for this looks, well, absolutely insanely fun. Basically, it's a scythe-wielding melee DPS with magic use, and it's said to be using the power of the void, which is quite interesting. Zenos will be using this weapon in the second half of 5.5, in fact, in the next patch that's coming out soon in 5.55, so that will introduce the Reaper job and indeed Zenos back into the storyline, building up obviously for Endwalker's release. So Reaper itself then is a melee DPS. It will start at level 70. This means it requires at least one job on your account to be level 70 or higher already. This actually calls forth an avatar, they say, from the void itself to join the battle and can serve as a host for their avatar. So this is something that does damage alongside you, sort of like a summoned ability, and you can also consume that avatar within you. And in the actual job trailer itself, they show you turn red, your eyes glow red, and you have red scythe attacks, which usually you would have a green magical attack when you swipe your scythe. It looks very, very fun, and apparently the job quests for this will start in Uldar, so they foolishly advise people if they want to start a Reaper in 6.0 to log out for the expansion in Uldar. That sounds like a terrible idea, but there we go. If you like lag, that's the place to go. Then they move on to more Endwalker meat and potatoes. So 6.0, they say, once again, is a self-enclosed storyline. Part 2 of 5.5, so 5.55, will be where things start to heat up as they continue talking about the preemptive stuff building up to the 6.0 storyline. And then they talk about the new player hub city. This is revealed to be Old Charlian. This will be serving as a base before we actually go to the moon. Apparently there's plenty to do in our world, but we have to go and do before we go to the moon. So that gives you an idea of the progression of the next expansion, where we start basically in Charlian and our world, and then presumably Galam, and then we're going to the moon much later. Kind of like how we did with the Tempest, I think. Much the similar, to Shadowbringers in that kind of way. This has been mentioned so many times in the game and storyline, Old Charlian, being like the head of the, the studium, all of that scholarly information, and Alphino and Alice, obviously, studied there along with many other people, including Kryl. But this will be the first time that we actually get to visualize what this actually looks like and go there ourselves. They show some footage, and it's absolutely incredible. I love this place to bits. It's fantastic. Originally, they say the plan was to have 6 starting cities at the start of the game. This was cut down to just 3 that they could focus on, so that Yoshi P had a more manageable time when he took on the task of reforming 1.0 into 2.0. But obviously, Charlian is that 6th city that we haven't actually seen yet. So Alamigo, Gridania, Uldar, Ishgard, all of those things. But the 6th one is actually Charlian. So there we go. We're finally going to get to go there. It's quite hype. So the main theme they talk about for Endwalker took 3 days to compose and write the actual lyrics towards. It was composed by Masayoshi Soken and has voices from the wonderful Amanda Ashen. If you've heard any of her music, maybe some of the piano remixes for the Scions and Sinners album, fantastic vocalist, along with the Primals doing a lot of the music itself with instrumentation. It frankly is amazing, and yeah. Apparently the main vocals for this new theme is someone called Sam Carter, who's a lead singer from the band The Architects, which is actually a UK-based band in Brighton, I believe. But yeah, I hadn't heard about them before this, but that trailer is certainly making me want to have a look at their stuff. So for the trailer then, they break down some of the characters that were shown in that. This is where this keynote goes next. Asinian is being classified obviously as a scion now. This is also meaning he's going to be one of the trusts going forward. Then they show this particular character, which I'll probably mispronounce here, which is supposed to be Vricha. Okay, Vricha. It's got a V there, but it's like pronounced Vricha or something like that. One of the first brood, basically. This is another dragon with big horns. So yeah, that's something that we're going to be looking into. And apparently they don't want to really talk about that. They want to talk about that later on and let the game explain why this one of the first brood is involved in the storyline, which is very cool to see next to Astinian. There is going to be a new character, an Elizon that they don't name, that will be introduced into 5.55, apparently. So as early as that, we actually see this guy in the trailer, and yeah, he is basically Forchanol Levialeur. So that's actually the brother, I think, of Alphino and Alice, if I remember correctly, if my lore is working properly there. But he is going to be one of the main characters, and in the trailer itself, he actually has quite a downward tone towards Y'shtola and the idea of how Sharlayan stands politically. So there's going to be a lot of political turmoil, and at the center of it seems to be this individual that's going to be a major character. They didn't want to talk about the character too much, and they didn't release the name, but if you have the Encyclopedia Eorzea Volume 1 and 2, then it's actually written about quite a lot in there. But yeah, then they talk about massive new areas. They sort of hint at places. They don't really go into too much detail, as you can imagine. The first one is Labyrinthos, which actually shows screenshots of, and is also some footage with some wonderful music, which I wish I could play you, but of course, copyright concerns. Apparently, as much as this picture makes it look like an outside place, like a location, this is actually deep underground, a subterranean area that has this dome with a fake sky projected on it, with a fake sun being built here to, create photosynthesis for plant life. So this is actually an underground dome. It looks like it's not, but it actually is. Apparently it's a complete mystery where this is, and we're left to speculate. Although there is Sharlayan architecture present here, my possible idea is that Labyrinthos, being with the labyrinthine name, might be the new deep dungeon, but we'll have to wait for confirmation on that, and that's just my speculation. Next, they look at Fafnir, some wonderful footage of this place. It looks so vibrant and diverse, lots of colours that pop off the screen, such a homage to, places in the real world to the east, Far East, where we have all of those wonderful colours and cultures. And yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. There's not really much I can say about that otherwise, other than I'm looking forward to going and AFKing there and killing some monsters. And then, of course, you've got the wonderful Radzat Han, which is following the, obviously Fafnir is an island, and Radzat Han is the city at the heart of it. This will be a player city, one place that we can visit, and all of that colour is just being slammed into your retinas. I love it. It really is a great representation of somewhere so diverse. And I think, honestly, Endwalker has some of the most diverse zones comparatively together than any other expansion we've seen so far. It's not just one particular biome. It's this time they've got incredibly colourful stuff, and then you've got incredibly dire, horrible circumstances at Galam, and then you've got the moon, and yeah, it's literally out of this world. I am incredibly happy about this. And yeah, you probably are too. My mouth was just completely open during a keynote going, wow, have you guys seen this? Wow. And they're like, yes, we're watching the same thing. Wow. You know, it really is just epic looking. I cannot wait to try and navigate my way around those cities. And it just, I'm so hyped, dude. I really am. They show us a new zone next, which they don't give us a name, any details, or any in-game footage. They just show us some artwork. This is concept art of a new zone, but we're not allowed to know the name of. Chat, as well as myself, at the same time, we're all shouting, it looks like Laputa, you know, like the castle in the sky from the Ghibli movies. Yeah, it's a floating set of islands. It could be above Garlemald. Who knows? This looks absolutely amazing. Then they show us some Garlemald, which looks amazing. There's some screenshots. Very cool. Very, very nice. Looks like a ruined city, which is exactly the vibe that we should be going for. And then they show us some moon footage, looking incredible. Apparently this building is called, now if I can pronounce this, Mare Lamentorum, which I'm not sure what the Latin means for that. What is it? Something like Weeping Dream or something? I don't know. I'm completely far off. I know somebody in the comment section will correct me on that. But yeah, it's a moon base. Inside it kind of reminds me of like a astrologian sort of observatory type building, which is interesting. But it's set in this crater. It seems to have air and gravity, and they show some other footage off of like caves on the moon and spores and weird things and some different crystals and such. It looks like probably one of my favorite places already. I can't wait to explore the moon. I'm big into my space travel and all of that sort of stuff, you know, in terms of science. So I'd love to see what they come up with. And I think the moon is such a wonderful place for a fantasy game. I think it's going to be lots of Final Fantasy IV nostalgia as well. So then they talk about the new encounters. They do confirm the Magus sisters. These will be original, however, to 14, designed specifically for 14 with a 14 related storyline. They're nothing to do with Final Fantasy IV, although they do know that the Mega Sisters have been in previous Final Fantasy games. This will be original storyline and original characters to that. So very cool. It just seems like they're using the Mega Sisters name and rough designs for these particular NPCs. Next, they introduced the Leporites, I think I pronounced that correctly, which are little moon bunnies. These apparently will play a massively important role in the storyline. Yoshi P says, are these friends or foes? But basically, these will likely be like the pixies in Shadowbringers. I would imagine these get introduced as the next beast tribe that's coming up. That's probably where this is going to go. But yeah, I cannot wait to see what tomfoolery the Leporites come with. Very, very hyped for those. So next they move on to new dungeons. They show some dungeon previews in this short clip of videos, which look pretty cool. They don't really go over this too much. There's about 3 dungeons in these previews. They show off like the inside of that tower, that Garlemald sort of place. They show somewhere that looks Charlian. They show somewhere that looks a little bit Fafnir. Very cool. I cannot wait to see those dungeons, and I can't wait to see names on them and some, you know, discussions about them. Hopefully we get some of that in the panels to come in the next couple of days. But so far from what we've seen, these are definitely quite epic looking dungeons. I like the fact that it needs a train to get from one area to the other. The Garlemald dungeon looks to be a rustic sort of very dilapidated city, sort of like the ruins of it, and yeah, there's a good variety of dungeons here. I think you'll agree. Lots of different styles. Much like the cities and the actual areas that we're going to be leveling, the dungeons themselves follow on with that variety as well. And I think that it, once again, is probably one of the most diverse things we've seen from an expansion. It really is going in several different directions all at the same time, and I commend them, honestly, for doing that. I think it's a very brave maneuver, but it's also very much Final Fantasy. This is back to the roots of what I would say Final Fantasy was all about. That magical, mythical exploration and adventure that you couldn't always predict. And this certainly is shaping up to be one of the expansions that seems to be very hard to predict, or at least it does for me personally. Lovely stuff. So next up, they talk about the new Alliance raid. which is going to be called Myths of the Realm, which is really interesting. It's going to be a unique to Final Fantasy XIV original storyline, which explores Eorzea's pantheon of the 12, so the 12 saints of Eorzea. So you might see from this image that stone, the Arkstone, where you've got all the 12 around it, that if you've ever had a ceremony of eternal bonding in the game, you would have seen above you next to the chapel. Well, that's basically the 12 there, those, like Birrigut, etc. This actually explores that history. I think it's a great idea to make something completely new. It also prevents a lot of people from speculating with any kind of degree of accuracy. We really don't know enough about the Pantheon of the 12, really, to give a good guess of what the Alliance Raid series could include. So, great idea, and it's nice to see something original. As much as we love the collaborations with Nier and such, it is nice to see something original once again in the game. So next we look at the release information, which is kind of amazing, really. We get a release date, and people around the world probably were guessing at something very different, but I actually predicted this. I said November, and it turns out I was very accurate with that. So the November the 23rd, 2021 is when Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker actually releases, and November the 19th, 2021 is when your early access period will begin. So the first time you can actually log into Endwalker and play it will be November the 19th. So there we go. I guess a lot of people are going to plan everything about that now. Honestly, I mean, time to book some work off. Try to go into work and be like, very subvertly try and book some time off for that date and hope that your boss doesn't realize what you're doing. So there we go. There is going to be a collector's edition, and the collector's edition itself looks pretty good. They do show this. I'll show a picture instead of what they show because it's a little bit more detail. First of all, you get a statue with the Warrior of Light as a paladin, obviously doing Passage of Arms there, which is a wonderful statue. I can't wait to get a hold of this. It looks fairly decently sized. These are always quite small statues. A lot of people are always quite surprised by how small they are, but they're pretty much they've always been like this. I think this is a very well detailed one from what we can see here. Hopefully the version that we get in our hands is the same quality. I know a lot of people have been a bit disappointed with the Omega statue, so hopefully it doesn't follow the same tragedy storyline as that one, but it does look very good. We also get an Azim pin, or a Nazem pin, depending on how you want to pronounce that. This is actually obviously the shape of the actual jobstone type thing that we get in the game that we've seen. Again, I'm not going to explain that too much. If people don't know about the storyline, just go play Shadowbringers. It's fantastic. On top of that, you're also getting a Leporit mini plush. So this is a plush of one of those little Leporit rabbit creatures that live on the moon. That's kind of cute. It's kind of like a keyring plushie. We also have a print it's in a frame here, but you get a print of that wonderful box art that was designed by Yoshitaka Amano, which is also the Endwalker box as well, as you can see in the image. And then you also get a load of art as well, which is an art collection that includes 1.0 artwork all the way through Realm Reborn. We've got Stormblood, we've got Heavensward, we've got Shadowbringers, and then we've got Endwalker stuff as well, which looks very cool indeed. I'm very excited to probably get some frames for those. I think those are about A4 size. So those would look great in frames on my wall. But that's pretty much what you get in the physical collector's items. You also, for digital collectors, you get the Porum minion, the Aurion mount, and the Death Scythe, which is Reaper Glamour. It's a special looking demon scythe. It's called the Death Scythe. It kind of reminds me of what the Reapers might get if they had Wolf's Pier Feast weapon glamour. It kind of reminds me a bit like that. Very cool. I quite like that. Apparently there will be no physical disc version for the first time ever with Final Fantasy XIV. That includes for PlayStation users as well. There will be no disc. So the collector's editions are a little bit different this time around. On Windows and Mac version, you get the collector's edition, which comes with everything, including a game code. So all of the physical items, all the digital items, and a game code in the box. For Steam and PlayStation users, you need to get the digital version through either the PlayStation Store or the obviously the Steam Store. You get the either normal or digital collector's edition through that. But if you want the collector's edition physical items, you need to buy the collector's box. This has no game and no digital items included, and only has the physical items. These are sold separately. So if you still wanted to get your Steam version or your PlayStation version, your digital collectors, go for it through their stores. But obviously, if you want the physical items, you'll have to buy the collector's box separately at a presumably reduced price. We'll have to wait and see when that goes up later. The main reason for this is because players on Steam and PS5 have to buy their game through those stores, and by not having a physical edition of the game anymore, then this is how you're going to have to obviously do it. A pre-order bonuses for any version is the Palom Minion and the Menfina earrings. The Menfina earrings will allow you to level from level 1 to level 80. This is an EXP gain item. And obviously we get early access as well for that pre-order. So there we go. The 23rd of November for the release date, and November the 19th for your early access. A lot of people are going to say it's winter and not fall as a release date, but apparently the logic they used was, and I quote, "because technically parts of Japan are not snowing yet. That's why I said it was fall, late fall," end quote. That's Yoshi P. So apparently November, late November is part of fall, but there we go. You know, complaints to him, not me. But one last thing that they talk about, a big one, is Male Vieira. They did actually show off a trailer, which I will obviously link you to in the description of this video to go watch yourself, but here's a snippet of it. Yes, they actually gave in. They're giving you male versions of Vieira, you know. Previously a female-only locked race. They did talk about female Hrothgar, by the way, before people raise their pitchforks too much in anger. Apparently, they do plan to add female Hrothgar in the future when they have time, but this male Vieira is all they're adding in terms of different variations in 6.0. And they obviously state, once again, that these will be the last races they ever add that are playable due to constraints. So there we go. You're getting male Vieira. There's still no fix to your hats, and they don't show hats in the trailers. But there we go. It's just a case of people shouting from the rooftops that they want male Vieira. Maybe they'll fix hats at the same time. Who knows? But there's no information on that at the moment. And information on the lore to do with male Vieira, about them living in the forests and not being with the female Vieira, apparently will be revealed at a later date, but they're retconning a lot of the previous stuff. So whether that makes you happy or not, who knows? Apparently, one of the last things to talk about then is server latency. For some players is not great, and they want to see Final Fantasy XIV grow much further after 6.0, and they want to invest in that growth. They're putting in multi-million-dollar ideas, such as the new Oceania data center. This will be hosted in what appears to be Australia, to affect that part of the world, an Oceania set of servers on a data center, but this will only be in the game by about 6.1. This should be open, not at launch of Endwalker. So there you go, new data center. No information as to if they'll offer free transfers or paid transfers. We don't know at this time, but that's pretty much it. And that was a wrap up for the entirety of the Keynote section of the FanFest. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully I broke down everything as cleanly and descriptively as possible. Are you guys hyped for FanFest? Well, for the rest of FanFest, but also for Endwalker? I know I am. It's 5:40 in the morning, and I'm still very much alive and awake, and I'm waiting to get more information. And as soon as I get more, I'll be sure to make a video on it. Much love. Enjoy your FanFest. Enjoy your night or morning or whatever time it is, whatever part of the world you're in. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.